In this episode, I get to chat with my very own business bestie, Emma Cossey. We're diving into all of those things that we love, the podcasts, the books, the courses that have made an impact. All of those little bits and pieces that slotted together have turned us into the confident, sassy, self-employed types that we are today. This episode is all about filling your gaps because as a freelancer, as a business owner, it's your responsibility to do that, and we are going to help you make that first step. Do you ever feel like you're drowning in a sea of marketing musts and shitty business shoulds? Yeah? Well, you're in the right place. Your Biz, Your Rules is here to help you kick that crap out of the road so you can build your biz your way. Hello, and welcome back to Your Biz, Your Rules. I'm very excited to announce that we have our very first returning guest today, Miss Emma Cossey. She was with us for episode 13, which was all about finding killer apps because, yes, she is the app queen. But today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. But before we get into that, Emma, hello again. Introduce yourself to those who've forgotten who you are, the fools.
Thank you so much for having me back again. I feel very honoured to be the first return one. So I'm Emma Cossey. I run the Freelance Lifestyle, which is a blog, podcast community, and a collection of resources for new and experienced freelancers. But it's kind of really for anyone who is self-employed and just wants the confidence to run their own business.
Lovely. So Emma and I have actually just got off of our weekly accountability call. So every Tuesday morning we have a little Facebook chat to, have a chinwag about what's been going on, talk about our plans, brainstorm a little bit, and then we use that to hold each other accountable. And I honestly, it makes such a difference to my week. It really keeps me on track.
Yeah, and mine. I think we kindly kick each other's butts enough to be able to get the work done.
Mm-hmm. And I think we fill each other's gaps quite nicely because you've got all of this knowledge about how things actually work, and I have all of these ideas, so they sort of mesh quite nicely.
I know we basically come to the calls with like half a to-do list and then come away with so many more things, especially this week because I'm launching and you've got so many good ideas. It kind of doubles my to-do list, but in a really good way.
So that's the thing I wanted to talk about, really, about filling your gaps as a freelancer or as a self-employed person, because I think it's so important. You can't just go into your business and stay the same forever. You have to obviously evolve and develop with time and with tech changes and whatever. So what are your top tips for doing that? What are your top tips for always growing and developing in your business?
Yeah, because I think it's, especially if you come from being an employed person, you have to shift a lot of mindsets about when you should work, what you should be doing, and also about investing in yourself to make, because you're your business's biggest tool and biggest resource. It's so important that you're constantly improving, constantly learning, constantly building up your skill set to make yourself really competitive in the market. And also, and if I told my 15-year-old self this, she'd be appalled. I love learning now, and it gives you so much confidence to constantly learn new things and build up your knowledge base. So I think you asked about what tips there are to do that. Is that right? Yeah. So there are so many different things you can do. So there are courses that you can take. So I don't know if you want me to talk about some of the courses now, or whether that's something we can chat about later.
Oh yeah, tell us about some of the courses that have made a big impact for you.
So, I mean, I've been freelancing for 9 years now, so there are quite a few, but I would say possibly in the last year, the ones that have made a huge impact are Gemma Went's course. So I'm a part of her business bootcamp. So that's made a huge difference to giving me more of a structure. There's Alex Beden's course, which we've both done, I think, and for Instagram, that's just blown my mind, the number of things that you can do. And you assume with Instagram you know everything, but there's so many other things you can do, and I didn't realise until I joined her course. And probably Ruby Maguire's visibility course. Hers is kind of more of a membership, but that's really helped push me as an introvert as well, to be more visible and to learn more ways to be visible.
Cool. Yeah, I've done Alex Beaden's Gram Slam as well, and for me that was definitely a game changer, because I mean I liked Instagram before, but I'd kind of stayed away from Instagram stories, which is obviously what it focuses on. But as soon as I went through those videos, I was like, oh my god, this is so much fun. I can be like ridiculous and wacky and like colourful and giphy, and yeah, it unleashed a beast, and now you can't get me off them.
I think that's the thing though, isn't it? That I think people think learning has to be boring, and it doesn't. A lot of the things that you learn as a freelancer or as a self-employed person or entrepreneur, they're really fun things. So there's sales courses out there that teach you how to do sales in a fun, comfortable, non-icky way. There's so many different ways of doing things that can actually make it turn the scary thing into a fun thing. And I think that's a really important part of learning, is that you get the confidence from doing it and from learning more about it. So it's really, really important to kind of fill those gaps. If you feel like there's a gap in your knowledge, then it's really important that you kind of overcome the fear and do it, because that's where you'll get the confidence.
Right, and one of the reasons I decided to start this podcast in the first place was because I wanted to explore all of these ways that you can build a business that feels good, that suits your own personality and isn't just the done thing. And I think that's a really important thing to remember, because you can find experts out there that mesh with you, mesh with your values, mesh with your personal taste, and can teach you how to improve in certain areas. It's not like they're all working off a curriculum.
No, and I think podcasts are a brilliant starter point for that. Like I'll often, I mean, obviously I'm biased because I'm your friend, but I will often listen to your podcasts with the experts that you have on. I'll have a notepad in front of me and I'll be making notes. And I listen to so many podcasts and I've learned so much from them, and that's such a good starting point because it's free as well.
So what are your favourite podcasts for learning things? Not just like the ones you like to listen to, but the ones that you find are actually actionable.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have a quick look through mine now. Obviously yours. Ruby Require and Gemma Went both have podcasts, so I do learn quite a lot from theirs. I'm going to have a quick look now. Okay. So What She Said has got some brilliant guests on there. So I've learned quite a lot on a big variety of topics, but particularly on influencers and blogging. There's been a lot of interesting stuff there. Ask Pat is amazing. Ask Pat's just changed his recently into a sort of coaching one where he tackles bits of topics. But I think because he is a bit introverted as well, that really appeals to me. But he has so many good tips about really basic business things. Let's see. Obviously, Online Marketing Made Easy, which is by Amy Porterfield.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that one.
She's done some brilliant ones on Facebook ads in particular, which Facebook ads is such an icky topic, really, but she makes it really accessible. Yeah, I would say those are kind of the most obvious ones. What about you? Are there any that you find that you learn a lot from?
So I love the Joy Junkie show, but it's less to do with just business stuff, and it's a lot to do with like actual life stuff and relationships. But I find that obviously that stuff has an impact on the way you show up at work anyway.
Yeah.
I also love Lead with Love, which is
I love that one.
Podcast, and it's all like very like, she talks a lot about sales and community building and that sort of stuff, but it's with sort of the guiding post of making everything feel good and feel good for your people, and like they're not being sold to you, and like you really are building a proper like loving community, which quite appeals to me. And then I've always been a fan of Being Boss. Being Boss was the first podcast I actually ever listened to ever, and there are some really good nuggets in there. It's one of those ones that I don't listen to them in order, which I do with a lot of podcasts. I sort of dip in when there's a particular topic that I feel I want to explore more. I'm the same with Online Marketing Made Easy, because she goes so in depth, and it's almost like a mini workshop in each episode. I find that sometimes it's just not relevant for me in the moment. So if I'm like going through a time where I really want to focus on list building, then she has some really great episodes on that, so I'll go and revisit those. But like at those times I don't want to listen to the ones that are about building courses, but then at other times I might, because again, they're all really good.
Yeah, I think that's a sign of good podcast as well. If it's things that you almost want to save them as a library of content that you can refer back to, I think that's a sign of a good podcast.
And then another one that I quite like is Uncomplicate Your Business.
Oh, that's a new one to me.
Yeah, so a lot of her episodes are quite short, but they're very practical. Like she did this series a while back that was like an audit of the different areas of your business to help you simplify them a lot, and they were like maybe 5 or 6 minutes long each, so they were really good. So I definitely recommend that one. But again, that's one that I will dip into every now and again when I feel like I want to mix things up and get a bit more productive, because that's really what she focuses on. So those are mine.
I think the short, simple ones are quite, I mean, obviously I have a podcast and mine's quite a bit shorter as well, because I like being able to just fit them into short journeys, like car journeys, or I like the way that kind of content is usually straight to the point as well. So you don't have to listen to someone's kind of backstory or anything like that. It's straight to the point in there. But then obviously you've got ones like Amy's ones, which are much longer. So yeah, there's definitely, it's not like you're saying, it's nice that there's a way that some that you can dip in and out of, and some that you religiously listen to every single week.
And I think that's it. You know yourself, you know what you want, you know what you've got time for, what you've got energy for, so you can find the things that suit that.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
If you've just got 5 minutes while you're making a cuppa to listen to a podcast, great, there are options for that. If you want to go and listen to a podcast while you're, I don't know, walking the dogs for 45 minutes, then there are options for that too.
Yeah, and I think the beauty is, like you're saying, that you can slot these into your day. So learning doesn't have to be signing up to a huge course. Learning can just be putting aside 5 to 30 minutes a day just to listen to a podcast or an audio series, or sit down with a cup of tea and do a mini course. There's lots of different ways that you can slot learning in really easily into your day.
I think at this, like while we're talking about this, we should probably talk about discernment, because there really are a lot of things there are a lot of podcasts you could listen to, there are a lot of courses you could sign up for. That doesn't necessarily mean that you should listen or sign up for all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Quality over quantity.
Definitely. And it's okay to like follow someone for a while and get what you need for them, and then switch it up and start following somebody else a little bit more closely when that's the sort of stuff that you need.
Yeah.
And I think it is about not being overtaken by shiny object syndrome and really focusing in on the areas that you need to work on and you need to develop. So if you really struggle with sales, find a course that's about sales. Don't find a course that is about list building.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you've got to get the basics right before you even dive into that kind of thing.
Right. And you like, there's no point doing a course on something that you're already pretty good at just because you think it sounds fun. You should do the thing, like even if the thing is difficult and challenging and uncomfortable, often that's a sign that that's what you need to do.
Yeah, that's where the growth comes from. You don't grow from being in your comfort zone. You have to move outside the comfort zone and sometimes do some of the harder bits. So whether that's, so one of the things that in, say, for example, Ruben Maguire's course, every Friday, and actually Gemma's group does this as well, where you have to go on Facebook Live on a Friday. That's quite far out of my comfort zone. But the more that I've done it, the more comfortable I get with it, and I'm quite comfortable doing it in my group now, and now the next stage is doing it on my Facebook page. So I think it's really, really important to do that kind of pushing a bit outside your comfort zone. Just don't zap all the way out to the outer limit of your comfort zone, and it kind of can sometimes have a negative impact on your confidence.
I did something really gross a few weeks ago and went live on my personal Facebook profile for the first time ever. It was horrific. On the inside it was horrific. On the outside I think it was just about okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was prodded outside of my comfort zone to talk about something that I was launching, and yeah, scary, but I felt really like good afterwards, because I felt like I'd been really brave.
Because I think a lot of us separate our personal us from our professional us. So we're comfortable doing it on our, say, our groups or pages or anything like that. But then when it actually comes to telling our friends and family about us, about what we do, oof, that's icky sometimes. But was it worth it?
Yeah, I think so. But you know what the stupid thing is? All of my close friends and family follow me on the other platforms anyway. So they see my stuff anyway. The people that don't see my stuff are people that I might have gone to primary school with or worked with 4 jobs ago.
Yeah.
So like, if I'm being brutally honest, do I care what they think? Not really, but just the thought of being there in front of them was a bit scary.
And they might be a potential client and you've never even considered it because you went to primary school with them.
Maybe. So, okay, well, we can't talk about learning and filling knowledge gaps without talking about one of my very favourite topics, which is, of course, books.
Of course.
I know we've already had a little bit of a chat about this morning, but
yeah.
let's talk about books again for the pleasure of our listeners.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like, the best books that you've read over the past, I don't know, few months, past year or so, from a learning perspective?
Good question. Okay, so first of all, I am an audiobook fan. I don't often get time. So I'm a mum of a toddler. Well, he's 3 years old now, actually. But I don't get a lot of time to sit down and read. But I can listen to audiobooks in the car and things like that. So probably the best ones I've listened to in the last year are the 5-second rule, which I know we've had a discussion about. The Year of Yes was fantastic by Shonda Rhimes, where she kind of talked about what we were just talking about, actually, in terms of moving outside your comfort zone and saying yes to things that scare you a little bit. I'm trying to think what other ones I've read. What about you?
I'm just, while you've been talking, I've just been looking through my Kindle app to like
I'll have a look through my
So one that I really enjoyed was Worthy by Nancy Levin.
Yeah.
Which is all about boosting your self-worth to grow your net worth. And I found there was some really helpful journaling exercises in there that really made me think about things in a different way.
Yeah.
Another one I really enjoyed was... Okay, and this one's not necessarily a work thing, but How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind.
Yes, we both read that one. It's brilliant.
And that really like makes you think about tiny little habits that work towards making your physical space a lot more manageable, which has become a lot more of a priority for me since I started working from home and I'm in it all the time. So like if I come downstairs first thing in the morning and the kitchen's full of dirty dishes, it just brings my mood down instantly.
Yeah.
So reading that like really helped me think of a few different ways that I can sort of shift and make slight changes.
I think she's a really interesting one as well because she's a reformed slob. So she's someone that was a slob and now isn't. And I would much rather take advice from somebody that has gone through that journey than someone who is naturally tidy or naturally OCD. So, for example, I wouldn't take diet advice from a naturally skinny supermodel, but taking advice from her is kind of, I don't know, she's been through it, she does it. And I think that's something to take in consideration when you're working with someone who's doing a course and something as well, because you want to know that they've gone through a similar journey, or they're not naturally. So for example, if I want sales advice, I want sales advice from somebody who has maybe overcome some of the problems that I have. If I want advice with, say, LinkedIn, I want to see their kind of journey. So I think that's why maybe she appeals to us, because she does those little habits, but she also has come along on that journey rather than just being a naturally OCD tidy person. Like what's the one that does the magic of
Marie Kondo.
Yeah, she's so naturally tidy already, I couldn't relate.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Actually, that reminds me of another one that I've read recently, which is How to Stop Feeling Like Shit by Andrea Owen.
Yes, I've also read that one. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I read that a few months ago, and what really I found almost amusing is she has it divided into these chapters that are sort of all the different things that could potentially make you feel like shit. I think with the view of that something will appeal to everyone. I went through that list of chapters and could literally tick off everything. Like, I'm guilty of every single one of those things. So it really did, again, it's full of really good journaling exercises that make you think and look for solutions, which I found really handy. Another one that I didn't love this in an I enjoyed reading it kind of way, because it made me come face to face with some uncomfortable shit, but Profit First.
I'm about 3/4 of the way through it, but it is a slog, but it's really, really useful.
Yeah, so I've been doing the Profit First system for almost a year now, so it'll be about a year ago that I read it, and that's like one of the things that has truly changed the way I like run my business and think about my business. It wasn't necessarily a fun topic or a fun read, but it has had the biggest impact, because I've just completely restructured the way that I look at my finances based on that book.
I think that's one of those books, I think, that I've got the audio version, but I probably need to get the paperback as well to make notes.
Yeah, mine's full of post-its. So I've got post-its just like sticking out of every side, and I lent it to a friend and she recently posted it back to me, and my post-its are still intact.
But I think that's a sign of a good book if you do, like Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffield Thomas. I've got the audio version. I discovered this morning when we were looking through our Kindles that I've got the Kindle version. I completely forgot about it, but I went and got the paperback version as well, because it's such a good book that I wanted to make loads of notes in it. And I think that's a good sign if you've got the audio version and you still want to go by the paperback. Although if you've got the Kindle and you've got the app, the iPhone app, I know you don't have an iPhone, but it might do it for Android as well. You can have Whisper Sync so that you can listen on audio version and then it will pick up at the same point on Kindle.
That exists for us as well. It's not just an Apple app.
There you go.
Oh, the 4 Tendencies as well. I read that.
Oh God, I can't believe I didn't mention that one. Yes, absolutely.
What are you? What tendency are you?
Questioner. 100% questioner.
I'm like a big time upholder, but you probably can guess that.
Yeah, but I think because we know each other, I think it helps us when we're chatting to each other, because we then know what will help motivate the other person. Mm-hmm. In the same way, I think another thing we talked about recently was the love languages. And so these are both quizzes that you can take online. I don't know if you want to put it in the show notes or something, but knowing your love language is actually really useful in business, because you understand what motivates you and how you feel valued, I think. So I think they're both, and the 4 Tendencies talks about internal and external expectations and how you respond to them. And I think both of those are hugely valuable as a self-employed person, to understand how you become motivated, especially as you have to motivate yourself a lot of the time.
And I think a lot of people do read the 4 Tendencies from that point of view, and that it helps them understand themselves more. I actually looked at it from a different angle. So I've used it as a way to learn how to manage my clients in a better way and the client teams that I'm on. So because I can easily see who is what easily.
Yeah.
And what's really great about the book is it talks you through how to deal with different personality types if you're a certain one. And that's something that I've referred back to a few times and have actually found really helpful, just in the way that you might approach certain topics or phrase things. It's quite a practical book in that way. So I recommend that one.
I think that's also key about the learning thing. If you can find something that you can constantly relate back to practical life, and it is something I do with my freelance clients, because I find the majority are either questioners, obligers, occasionally rebels. I don't know that many upholders, but there obviously are some, and they tend to be very successful upholders. But yeah, it's something I definitely involve in my coaching, in the same way that you do, just so that you know what works for them.
I think upholders, though, run that risk of burnout more than any of the other types, because you're so strict with yourself, both with client work and outer expectations, but then with the rules that you set for yourself and your own internal intentions.
Yeah.
There's no respite. You don't get any rest unless it's on a list somewhere.
Yeah, and rebels, sometimes they find it hard to get themselves motivated, but they're far less likely to get stressed out because they're more likely to go, well, no, I need to take a break. So yeah, there's definitely, I can see that there's each tendency has a different approach to balance, I guess.
Okay, so we've had a little tangent there talking about all of the books we love. But I because we've been talking about being discerning and figuring out what we want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if you don't know what you don't know?
Interesting.
Especially at the beginning, you don't always know all of the moving parts that make a successful self-employed life.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you have to learn these things by experience, but it's useful to be able to have some kind of framework in place so that you at least know what you're doing. I think a lot of people fall into being self-employed and they don't have a framework in place in terms of dealing with clients, dealing with late payments and things like that. And I think those are all areas that it's useful to have some kind of framework or boundaries set with clients and things like that, that can avoid hitting too many problems.
Well, I remember back when I was first starting out full-time as a freelancer, and I was on a chat with a potential client, and she was like really into it, really wanted to go ahead, and she was like, oh great, just after this, email me a copy of your client agreement. And my face just froze, and I was like, yeah, okay. Like, clicked off the shit, I need a client agreement.
Yeah.
So obviously the next step was, Emma, have you got a template for client agreement? I need one, which of course you did.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of thing, like sometimes you're in the moment and you don't actually realise this is something I should have in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're always constantly learning, or hitting things that require us to have a high level of knowledge. But I think that's the beauty, is that you can come off that call and learn it. And there are tools and resources out there that will allow you to do that.
Well, I think that's what I love about your Life Stash. So Emma is the founder of the Freelance Life Stash, which is a brilliant membership that rounds up all kinds of resources, templates and trainings designed for freelancers, business owners, self-employed types, whatever you want to call yourself. And it has not only the stuff that you like, sort of the cornerstones that you need to have in place to really get started from a solid foundation, but also stuff that will help you develop. So as you grow into new directions, new income streams, new phases of life. So if you're navigating a new relationship in freelancing, or buying a house as a freelancer, or parenting and freelancing, and all of that stuff, which you're not necessarily going to need to know at the beginning, it's there. It's like the pick and mix of perfect stuff as you grow a business.
Yeah,
I'll let you talk about it.
Oh, I wanted to create a library of resources that people could, like you say, dip in and out of. I didn't want people to be panic Googling things. I wanted them to have tried and tested tools. So in there, I've got things like a terms and conditions template. I've got walkthroughs of useful tools for them to keep them organised. I've got online courses that will, from the start, there will be the 30 days of to start your freelance business. So for the very beginnings of being a freelancer, because I think that's sometimes the trickiest part, knowing what to even do and how to set things up. But then at the other end of the scale, I've got things like my 4 weeks of freelance habits, which will instill some new habits into your life, small habits that will give you better balance, better control of your money, your health, and your business. So there's lots of different things in there. You can dip in and out as you like. Each month there will be brand new content added, whether it's templates, workbooks, expert interviews. I've got lots of lovely expert interviews, including a certain content queen. And yeah, there's going to be so much great content in there, but it's just all accessible. And the brilliant thing is, because it's through Teachable, there's a Teachable app, so you can do it all on your app. So you can dip into it without having to go through numerous logins and things like that. You can have it all with a couple of taps on your phone.
Oh, you do love an app.
I do love an app. As if I could ever launch anything like this that didn't have app access.
Yeah, so guys, I'll put a link to that in the show notes, because I would definitely recommend checking it out. Like I said, it's got everything you could ever possibly need, and she's always adding new stuff, and it's really inexpensive. I keep trying to bitch slap her into raising the price, but apparently she's not going to do that. So check it out, see what you think, dive in if you need a bit of something. And one thing I will say, Emma mentioned panic Googling. Don't do that. You will do more damage than good.
Yeah.
And I will tell you why. So if you're Googling things like terms and conditions, client agreements, anything that could potentially have a legal implication, a lot of the stuff you will find on Google will be US-based stuff.
Yeah.
And that is not always, rarely, if ever, relevant when you're running a business in the UK. So just be mindful of that when you are having a panic Google.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got links in there to contracts for UK-based people. So the terms and conditions in there are basic terms and conditions to set boundaries, but the contracts in there are all linked to UK-based ones.
Which is nice. I think it's needed because there are lots of resources out there if you're starting a business in America, but so many of us aren't. So many of us are actually in the UK.
Yeah,
I think there's a real gap for people who want to go about things the right way, but in the UK.
And I think the other thing that I really wanted to make sure I included was email templates, because that's what I've Googled a lot in the past, how to respond to this client situation or this, or how to ask for referrals and things like that. And having those kind of templates, but for a UK-centric group, is hopefully a really big time saver for people.
And pitching too. You've got some great pitching resources.
Yep.
Which I think, like, there's such that like British thing of like not wanting to encroach or be rude or be pushy with things while still actually wanting to make money. And I think you navigate that line quite nicely.
Oh, well, thank you. And hopefully I've got a lot more to add into that. But I've already got a whole course on how to pitch. I've got templates for that, how to pitch to other people and all sorts of things there. So if you're wanting to dip your toes in, which, you know, if you own your own business, you have to do pitching, whether it's sending an email to a potential client or just following up after a discovery call. There'll be things in there for that.
In short, go look at the Life Stash and just sign up.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited for people to see this, and I really, really want it to be helpful. And it's going to grow over time, and so there's already so much in there, but it's only going to grow, and you're only going to get more and more value for money.
Excellent. So on that note, let's wrap up and hear a little bit about your guilty pleasures. I know you've done this before, but once again, what is your biggest guilty pleasure and how do you weave it into the way you work?
Love Island. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm obsessed. I'm absolutely obsessed. I know that's probably not the answer you were looking for, but no, I'm a huge Love Island fan, so I use it to treat myself. So I haven't watched last night's episode yet, and I'm not going to watch it until lunchtime when I've already done enough work this morning. So it's kind of a motivator at the moment. I don't know what I'm going to do when it's done. Big Brother doesn't fill a hole.
I don't watch Love Island.
I know.
Which you would think I would, because I do love
Made in Chelsea.
Love Made in Chelsea. Love all of the Real Housewives. Love anything Bachelor Nation.
Yeah.
But Love Island, I don't know. Have you looked at Hey You?
Hey, yeah, I had a subscription for a month or two.
Yeah, so they're constantly adding new stuff on there, so it might be worth just having another look.
I might have to.
Love Island gap.
I've got a little bit of a Netflix backlog. I've really got into Glow. I love Glow. So I'm almost finished with that one. And iZombie and anything silly on Netflix I love. But I love that they're adding so much stand-up comedy as well, because I've got a massive crush on Greg Davis. There's a guilty pleasure. So his stand-up's on there.
There's just something about him.
I know. I don't know what it is. Maybe because it's really tall. Do you watch Taskmaster?
No.
Oh, okay. Get on that. I'm not going to go off on a tangent on that, but make sure you watch Taskmaster.
Do you know what, though? I do find myself attracted to quite a number of not classically attractive comedians. And I think it is because they're just so funny.
Yes, absolutely. It is true. I mean, going back to Love Island, Jack in there is hilarious, but not the most obviously handsome one in there, but he is the most attractive because he's hilarious.
You've lost me on that reference.
Just trust me on it.
Okay, and on that note, I will pop all the links to everything we've mentioned. I know there have been quite a few things in this episode. And yeah, I just really want to leave you with the final thought of just looking at where you want to grow in your life, in your business, and then finding something that will fill that gap for you, whether it's a person, an app, a book, a podcast, a course, anything. Find it, run with it, and see where you are.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for joining me again. Thank you so much for listening. I genuinely hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed creating it, because seriously, I love this stuff. Now, if you'd like to take it a little bit further, if you'd like to learn more from me, just have a bit of a chat, or share your thoughts on this show, then please do come find me on Instagram. My handle is @DaraCharlotte. I'll see you there.